Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending where you are joining us from. My name is Jen, and I'll be your host today's session where we share with you the best case from ESOMAR. First, I'll kick this off with Ying. We'll be presenting Selling Insights Through Live Commerce in China, presented by Ying Gu, the Consumer Engagement Director at Pernod Ricard China, and myself. We will discuss how we presented insights on moment of consumption to a very diverse group of internal stakeholders. Then, it will be Inside the Gen Z Parental Mind with Philips, presented by Angie, our community's lead. Angie will share how consumer insights around Gen Z parenting have enhanced brand relevance and engagement for Philips. Third, Closing the Empathy Gap with L'Oreal Global Connect Program by Delphine, silver winner of Research Effectiveness Award at ESOMAR Congress 2024. Congratulations, Delphine. And last, Unveiling the Power of Synergy with Ricola by Annalise, to explore how AI, human creativity, and strategic thinking unlock breakthrough ideas. I hope you will enjoy the session we've put together today. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, please share in the chat. Ian cannot join us today, so we'll be sharing through her video, just like she's presenting live. So the first presentation, let's kick it off. It is the Selling Insights Through Live Commerce in China. Let's hear it from Ian first. What was the business issue that she was facing?
Thanks, Jane. In Pernod Ricard, as a leading spirit company, we have more than 200 brands and billions of consumers globally. Even just in China, we are managing more than 30 brands like Mattel, Chivas, Absolut, Peugeot, reaching 8 million of the consumer every day. Consumer centricity is not only a marketing strategy, but also a company strategy for every employee to start think about their daily job from a consumer standpoint. We believe it's not only helping to build a better brand, but also link directly to the visible sales return. With this context, we had established an ecosystem in Pernod Ricard China to understand the consumer from macro environment, consumer trend, then to who are our category consumer, what their occasion and demand, as well as their perception, connection to our brand in a routine basis. But there's always some new challenge coming. In 2022, we interviewed 20,000 consumers then to refresh a China consumer demand landscape with 20 consumption occasions with very specific needs, usage, attitude, behavior, consumption preference for each of the occasions, aiming to better fulfill consumer needs with our strong portfolio. This piece of the segmentation work is always complicated technically, but even more challenging is to cascade to the whole organization, meaning more than 900 employees in Pernod Ricard China, covering all functions, not limited to marketing, but also commercial, HR, finance, operation team. So we give this challenge to Jane, asking if she can help me.
Yes, Ian, challenge accepted. I think the biggest challenge in this is how to help different internal stakeholders coming from different backgrounds to digest this massive study in a way that they would also enjoy and will be able to comprehend and getting the same conclusion, no matter they are a market research professional or not. Actually, Ian, we do have a community with you, the community for Pernod Ricard China. There's almost 1,000 respondents and we record their drinking moments, their real life stories, and they do spread across different type of alcohol with different kind of moment of consumption. Do you think we should just collect this story and make it interesting together with the study that you have? Would it be enough for you?
It sounds already a good foundation for the rich consumer understanding. But in most of the time, we saw most of this great content were still sleeping there. People are less motivated to learn or to be deprioritized in our busy job. Meanwhile, we have the second challenge. Due to the COVID impact in December, Jane, most of our employees can only work from home, not able to meet, talk face to face. How to continue this learning journey? My question went to Jane again.
Okay, so why don't we start with something that people would love to watch at home and they will not get tired of it in hours? I think there are two ideas that we can borrow from today's entertainment and social media. First, I think we can borrow the idea from e-commerce live streaming. You know, people love to watch them explaining a lot of product details, but they will not get tired of it. And there's an interaction that they can do. They can share, they can send gifts through the live e-commerce platform. I think that would be a good format to enhance the interaction between audiences and us, even though we're doing online. The second idea that I think we can borrow from is the TV program that a bunch of guests with different background, like psychiatrists, like TV hosts, they are guessing what the participants will be doing next. Like, will they click or will they not click? I think this kind of guessing format will also help the engagement with the audiences. So let's try to do an immersion with the internal stakeholder with the fun of TV program and live e-commerce, but also with a very clear focus through interesting Q&A and guessing tactics. So let me share a video of what we have done in the end.
对于想让你的公司的一些相关的问题上来说，我觉得都在商业的考量范围之内，都是为了把消费者要买的产品做得更好，甚至是说拿出一些更好的一些理念来服务消费者。那我觉得我自己也是一个消费者，如果能在这里尽一点自己的力，能协助你做一些改善的工作，而且我也是受益者，我觉得活得很好。如果有什么会参加，希望你们能有。
我觉得还挺有意思的，就是我想象中的有点不同嘛，因为在这里有认识新的朋友，然后听到大家的分享，虽然
然后我可能是定义为某一类人群，但是我从其他几位嘉宾他们的分享中也得到了一些灵感，就是可能会就是影响到我回去之后在举办一些活动的时候，就是我觉得是一个启发吧，我觉得也非常有意思。
也是从这里接触到了可能不同方面、不同类型、可能不同生活状态的一些朋友们，他们的想法特别是像刘老板那样的可能是我未来一个可能会要成为的一个目标我可能了解他们一些现在的选择或者他们的一些想法对我可能也会有一些进阶或者选择开阔眼界的一个作用。
但是这个活动的感受，其实我觉得挺棒，特别棒，因为我从小到大也特别喜欢观察人，观察各种不一样的人。我觉得，其实我在被大家观察的同时，我也在观察大家，包括那些事业型的人士或者拼搏型的或者怎么样。其实我就觉得，对于自己未来的人生思考，其实也挺有帮助的。
非常感谢 CIT 组织的这次用户为先走进 MOOC 的一个 Consumer Lodge。这次的受访者在很多的受访内容，其实给了我很大的一些启发，尤其是那个受访者消费者在于就是广告投放对他的一些种草，包括广告的一些形式、精密的合作等等，对之后我们的媒体投放策略给了很大的一些思考的空间，包括其实也让我们了解怎么样更好的去跟我们用我们的媒体策略去跟 MOOC 跟我们的消费者去更紧密的结合，去满足我们的消费者的一个需求，或者是说让他在第一时间去考虑到我们的品牌。
我是 YT 的 Ellie， 然后我负责的是杰卡斯，然后因为杰卡斯的 MOOC 是 Traditional Feast， 所以我觉得这一次消费者分享当中2位在 Traditional Feast 下面分享的2位消费者的一些想法跟印象，我觉得都特别的有意思，可以让我了解到就是真实的消费者他们在真实的消费场景下对于购买消费者的一些标准以及影响因素的一些排序，以及他们在哪里会去购买葡萄酒，我都觉得非常的受益匪浅。而且因为我是线上听的这个 consumer 的这样的一个访谈，我觉得线上的效果也很好，而且也有很多很有意思的一些互动，可以发表情，可以提一些 Q&A， 所以我觉得还是效果很好的，蛮有意思的。
Yes, so in the end, it was a hybrid event. We have pre-selected consumers and their stories through our online community. We've engaged with them. We have recorded their interview and we cut the clips like a TV program. So the internal stakeholder can interact and guess what they're talking about or what would their intention be, and making sure that everyone gets the same conclusion as the consumer story evolves. So, Ian, what do you think?
We receive a lot of good feedback from our audience. They are asking when to have the episode 2 and episode 3. I'd like to share by 2 key learning. First, fun learning is the catalyst to consumer centricity. Even we are the adult today, a learning journey would be with a lot of fun. The format can change. It can be live streamed today, but something else tomorrow. An involving format is necessary to keep people engaged. Second, there's also something with no change. It's the power of consumer story. You will never see people lost attention to other story. It will bring a lot of aha beyond our expectation.
Thank you, Ian, for the opportunity. And then we did evolve into different way of execution. We have invited internal stakeholder to the karaoke party scene to understand how they will pick and choose different kind of alcohol based on the emotional value that they have, and we have brought them to nightclubs, so where the consumers are, and in the same format that we will have every stories collected, so it's not just a short market immersion, but it's actually an immersion representing the certain mark. And then next up is Angie. Let's welcome Angie to the stage.
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Jen. So in the next 15 minutes, I will show you more about how Philips and Humanate have teamed up over the past year to explore the next generation of parents. Now, during the study, our mission was to decode the Gen Z parental mindset and uncover what truly matters to them. And this is really important to Philips because as a leader in health technology and with a focus on mother and child care and women's health, they aim to improve the lives of 2.5 billion people each year by 2030. Now, to achieve this, it's essential for them that they understand the new generation of parents and, of course, their shifting needs. Now, before we get started, let's make sure that we're all on the same page on who we are referring to when we talk about Gen Z. Gen Z, or those in fact born between 1997 and 2012. So that means that today they are between 12 and 27 years old. And we already know a lot about them. Plenty of studies have given us a pretty clear picture on Gen Z's values and what they stand for. For example, growing up during the pandemic and economic instability, it has made them more resilient, adaptable, and passionate about social change and inclusivity. And we also know that they prioritize mental well-being and tend to approach life with a sense of playfulness. Now, however, we know less about them as parents. And while they are still young, as I mentioned before, they are all under 27, they are entering parenthood and they are doing it fast. In fact, we expect that by 2027, Gen Z will make up 50% of all births. So as Gen Z is increasingly defining the parenting landscape, it's more than ever important for us to get close to them. Now, to really fully understand this unique generation, it was really important in our study that we looked beyond their role purely as parents. We also took into account their lifestyle, the context that they live in, and the changing parenting landscape. Now, to get that full picture, we took a mixed method approach, but at the heart of all of it was our mobile-first online community. So over the course of 4 weeks, we engaged with 115 people from Germany and the US, and that led to over 2,200 interactions in the community, and we captured more than 1,700 pictures and videos. And while our main goal was, of course, to fully understand Gen Z parents, we collaborated with both Gen Z and millennial parents, all with children under 3, so that we could identify the differences between these two generations. Now, since Gen Z parents are only at the starting point of their parenting journey, we also included Gen Zers who are not yet a parent today, but are open to parenthood in the future. And our community really served like a creative toolbox, allowing us to dive into the many dimensions of parenting by blending mobile ethnography with storytelling exercises and mission-based activities. Now, to further illuminate all of those learnings, we also teamed up with experts and creatives. So on the one hand, we closely collaborated with generational experts to help us understand which differences were really driven by generation and which ones were more a result of life stage. And that gives us a clear picture of what makes Gen Z parents stand out. And then finally, we partnered with creatives in a global ideation contest where we asked them to design an app that addresses the needs of this new generation of parents. And all of these fresh ideas that we captured during the ideation contest helped us to bring to life our learnings. So of course, the question is, what did we learn? Well, to start, parenthood isn't a given for Gen Z. So we see that many Gen Zers have concerns about parenthood because of issues like sustainability, economic instability, and even war. And other Gen Zers simply do not like the idea of parenting or aren't willing to sacrifice their freedom. So compared to previous generations, Gen Z is more pushing back on that societal pressure to have children. For them, it's a personal choice. It's not just an expectation. And with their more progressive mindset, they're also far less judgmental towards people who decide to have a child-free life. Now, those Gen Zers who do decide to become a parent, they are doing it in their own unique way. And we in fact see that they are experiencing parenthood in a very different way compared to previous generations. You know, when we compare them to millennials, for example, they approach it with more caution. They are concerned that becoming a parent will overshadow their personal identity. Gen Z, on the other hand, they see parenthood as an enriching experience, something that allows them to learn and to grow. So for them, being a parent is not about compromising their identity, but enhancing it. It's kind of like, let's say, adding an extra layer to their identity. Now, Gen Z's unique parenting approach is built on 4 key pillars. And the first pillar is the importance to follow their child's rhythm. Because what we see is that Gen Z sees their kids not just as small children, but as mini individuals with their own unique personality and interests. And because of that, it's really important for Gen Z parents that they follow their child's rhythm when it comes down to letting them learn and explore at their own pace. Gen Z sees their role as a parent more being a cheerleader, encouraging and being supportive from the sideline without imposing directives or strict rules. And this is very different compared to previous generations. You know, boomers and Gen X, they really took more charge, they took the lead, and they were just expecting their children to follow. When we kind of compare that to millennials already took a more collaborative approach, you know, allowing their children to provide input, but still with an active role for them as a parent to guide and curate their children's interest. And now we see that Gen Z is taking that to the next step. And this difference really comes to life when we look at how these parents handle tantrums. When we zoom in on millennial parents handling tantrums, we see that they really want to take an active role in that moment. They will use timeouts and distraction techniques like providing candy to control the situation and make the tantrum stop. Gen Z, on the other hand, they focus less on controlling the situation. They kind of take more of a relaxed child-led approach. They will let their child have the tantrum. Because they prioritize in that moment understanding their children's perspective, validating their feelings, but also allowing their child to really work to that tantrum at their own pace. Now, a second important focus for Gen Z parents is to prepare, not overprotect. Gen Z parents, they are very realistic. They know that their children will face struggles in life. And so the faster they learn how to navigate those, the better. And where we see that millennial parents often want to put their children in some kind of a protective bubble, Gen Z is clearly taking a different approach. And because of that, they are also encouraging their children to take risks. So Gen Z parents, they will not come in and correct every misstep of their children. In fact, they see that as opportunities for their children to learn from their own failures. Now, preparing also means for Gen Z parents that they do not shy away from the difficult topics in life, such as discrimination or mental well-being. And so by having open discussions about these topics, they want to really prepare their children for future challenges. Now, Gen Z parents, or Gen Zers in general, grew up feeling a bit more distant from their own parents due to the way they were raised and the parenting style their parents took. And so now Gen Z parents, they are really focused on doing it differently with their own kids. And because of that, they are really hyper-focused on building a strong emotional connection with their children. Gen Z parents, they really prioritize being present, both physically and emotionally. So it's about creating a space where feelings and experiences can be shared openly. And at the core of all of that is that Gen Z parents want to create a strong trust relationship with their children, ensuring that their kids will feel comfortable reaching out to them when life gets challenging. And that is important to them because they didn't really have that with their own parents, so now they want to bring that feeling to their own children. Now, finally, Gen Z parents don't just see parenthood as something that limits their identity or lifestyle. For them, parenthood is not just about giving, it's also about having fun. And so as a result, they want this time they spend together to be enjoyable both for themselves and for their children. And Gen Zers kind of achieve that in different ways. So on the one hand, we see that they will involve their children in activities that they like as parents. Think hiking or yoga. But on the other hand, it also means that they will try to turn everyday routines into playful moments with their kids. And this contrasts with Gen Y. Of course, millennial parents, they also appreciate those shared moments with their children, but we see that in those moments, they often prioritize their children's needs over their own enjoyment. And so that, combined with millennials' parents' chase to become the perfect parent, often leads to them craving for me time, craving for me time because they need to decompress and recharge so that they can be their best selves when they spend the time together with their children. And that's not really something we see with Gen Z parents. Gen Z parents, they have less of a need for me time because they fulfill their own needs in the we time they share with their children. Now, of course, the question is, what does all of this now mean for brands? Well, both millennials and Gen Zers, they have very high expectations when it comes down to brands, but their priorities are slightly different. For millennial parents, safety and reliability are really at the top of the list, and those are really the only non-negotiables for them. Gen Z parents, they take it a step further. They bring in more overall no compromise mindset. So for them, it's not just about covering the basics. They want a brand that cares. So let's break down what cares means. So to start, both Gen Z and millennial parents expect brands to take environmental responsibility seriously. But again, Gen Z takes it a step further. They want brands to have a positive impact on their communities and the world. So for Gen Z, social responsibility, inclusivity, and championing diversity are really important, and not just in how the business operates, but also how the brand shows up in the world. And so that means that brands need to represent diverse parents in their communication and in their advertising. So it's about acknowledging all the different family structures that are present. So think here, single parents, same-sex parents, but also giving that the spotlight that they deserve. Next to that, Gen Z parents really take pride in finding smart buys, effective products that do not break the bank. But for them, affordability doesn't only mean the price tag. In fact, we see that Gen Z parents, they focus both on short-term and long-term affordability. In the short term, they look for brands that offer quality products at a reasonable price. And because of that, they embrace private labels, volume packs, but are also always on the hunt for promotions. Long-term affordability implies that they are willing to invest more upfront for products that give them a better value over time. And so this could mean, for example, products like a stroller that grows with their children, cutting down the need for multiple purchases, but it could also mean products that have a high resale value as well. Now, Gen Z parents are also reimagining what it means for product to be right for their families. To start, every item that they bring home, of course, needs to be free from harmful chemicals and needs to meet all the top safety standards. But again, that's only just the start. As being a parent is not about losing their identity, but enhancing it. They want parenting products that fit seamlessly into their lives and help them express their own interests and passions. And next to that, they are also seeking for products that are customized and tailored to their own family's unique needs. So it's all about celebrating their children's unique individuality and supporting them with that. Now, as we mentioned before, Gen Z parents are all about building that strong emotional bond with their children. And as a result, they are interested in brands that help them to achieve that. So they value brands that make them more present in their children's lives. And that can be done in different ways. So, on the one hand, it could be products and services that help them to free up time from household chores so that they can spend more time with their children. On the other hand, there are also tools that foster trust and open conversations with their children. And then finally, unlike Gen Y parents who prioritize more functionality, Gen Z really wants experiences that bring a sense of fun and playfulness into their lives. And that really gives brands an opportunity to elevate the parenting experience by incorporating sensory elements, bold designs, or just interesting features in kids and parenting products. And so that way they can make these products and daily routines more enjoyable for both parents and children. Now, another great way to spark joy is through humor. We know that Gen Z parents see parenthood as the perfectly imperfect. So it gives brands an opportunity to communicate about the ups and the downs of parenting with a touch of humor to keep it relatable, but also light. And this approach doesn't only help to humanize the brand, it also allows them to, create a stronger connection with these future Gen Z parents, as they are more likely to engage with brands that reflect their realities in an authentic and light-hearted way. And as you can see, we uncovered quite a lot of interesting insights during our journey, but we knew that in order to create real impact, we needed to take the stakeholders beyond the data. And so as a result, we created an empathy experience. We added layers around the debrief before and after. And in fact, before the session, we asked stakeholders to have a conversation with a Gen Zer in their life about parenting. And that way we ensured that they would come into the session open-minded. After the debrief, we organized speed dating sessions between stakeholders and Gen Z parents from our community. And these conversations led by the stakeholders allow them to more deeply connect, but also dive into certain topics that intrigue them. And the results speak for themselves. So in an impact survey, 9 in 10 stakeholders indicated that they now have a better understanding of the future parents. They feel more closely connected with them, but they also feel more confident in taking business decisions moving forward. So we did not just change their minds, but also their hearts and their actions. Now that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope it brought some inspiration, and I'll now hand it over to Delphine, who will tell you more about how we collaborated with L'Oréal to boost consumer centricity and empathy.
Yes, thank you, Angie. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. And as mentioned by Angie, I'm happy to share a little bit more on the empathy journey that we are on together with L'Oréal. But first, maybe a little bit of context. It's important for you to understand that L'Oréal has a history of being close to markets, to be on top of the trends, to be open, to be curious. So human and consumer centricity is really in the DNA of the brand. However, when they reached out to us in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, they felt that they needed to boost their consumer centricity and move from consumer understanding to consumer empathy. And being at the beginning of the pandemic, that felt even more important than ever. Because L'Oréal is active in beauty categories that are very dynamic and that are impacted by many digital and cultural trends, as nicely phrased here on the screen by Miralda Derks. She's the global CMO at L'Oréal. She's also the initiator of the program and a strong endorser. So keeping finger on the pulse is fundamental for L'Oréal, and that's why they felt that they needed to level up their game and that they needed to come with a more structured approach to empathy, that they needed to bring new scale and new speed to empathy, to really build a global empathy culture. And it was clear that technology would play an important role in all of this. However, L'Oréal stayed away from synthetic data and AI as an alternative to truly human connections. So to L'Oréal, empathy or consumer empathy is really about getting in touch with real people, with real emotions. It's sensing what lives with real people. So technology here is really as an enabler of company-wide empathy. And that's why we created the Beauty Talks program. And I would like to introduce you to the program with a short video. However, note that for privacy reasons, we had to replace all consumer images by artificial images, but I can reassure you, L'Oréal is talking to real people. Let's have a look.
Culture, context, and expressions are changing rapidly as consumers are becoming more diverse in their needs, passions, and relationship with brands. Now more than ever, it is important to stay true to our history at L'Oréal, to watch, to listen, to engage, and be on the ground with consumers to find inspiration, ignite powerful insights, and seize what starts. With the Beauty Talks program, it has never been easier to connect with your targets around the world and release your bivouac mindset, that of the road. Get an outside lens, get inspired, get surprised, get closer. Connect with thousands of consumers, influencers, and professionals from 29 countries covering key mature and emerging markets, either via our DIY or full service mode, as a standalone connect or as part of a broader team event, online via Teams or offline face-to-face. Take a moment to empathize,
J'aime bien quand vous dites se donner 5 minutes d'amour à l'heure.
learn.
For example, dermatologists don't really like exfoliating brushes.
Understand.
And microneedling. How do you do that?
Beauty Talks can help you get upskilled on your key targets, deep dive into transversal themes, understand consumer trends and shifts, supercharge running projects, bring to life consumer insights, co-create with consumers, infuse your workshops with the voice of the consumer. With about 2,200 connects done by September 2024, involving more than 30 entities cross-division, connecting with consumers and professionals across the globe, Beauty Talks has become an indispensable tool for many colleagues who highly appreciate it.
Such an amazing experience to come back on Earth.
And also to add this human touch to our daily work.
Absolutely amazing and eye-opening.
Upskilling.
Game-changing.
Empowering.
Exciting.
And also, it is a lot of fun.
Be curious. Be L'Oréal. Reach out to your CMI or to the Human Aid team to get started with Beauty Talks.
So as you can see, we have great and positive vibes around the program, but what is now actually driving the success of the program? So we have identified 4 drivers of success. We have labeled them the 4 C's of consumer empathy. If you can go to the next slide, Angie. Thank you. So the 4 C's of consumer empathy, which are capability, competency, culture, and capture the value. And first C is capability. And if we talk capability, there are 2 important things to mention here. First of all, if you want to engage people into a new program, into a new platform, it's super important to make things easy, to bring simplicity, to bring convenience. And that's why we have introduced the Beauty Talks platform, the one place where everything comes together for an easy and instant do-it-yourself experience. The platform takes you through the full empathy journey from training and learning, over booking your connect, sharing back what you have learned, and tracking activity and impact levels. However, a smooth UX throughout is not enough. You also need to make sure that you, if you want to really excite people into the program, you need to make sure that you also, that also the connect in itself, the conversation with the consumer, is a memorable and enjoyable experience. And that's why at Human Aid, we invest in matchmaking, in de-averaging the profiles. By doing so, we make sure that we connect L'Oréal stakeholders with professionals and consumers that are truly inspirational. And we do that via our do-it-yourself matchmaking booking tool, providing access to thousands of consumers that are pre-screened and that are pre-profiled and that are there to cherry pick from. The booking tool also allows booking for more niche profiles, such as professionals like makeup artists, hairstylists, dermatologists, as you could see in the video, but also more niche consumer profiles like duty-free shoppers or influencers. Second C is then competency. So it's not only important to make sure that you have a smooth UX and that you have high quality profiles to connect with. You also need to make sure that you build the right skill sets and the right competencies with a wide variety of stakeholders. So we needed to empower cross-functional teams, and we do that via our trainings, via our templates, via our playbooks. And that is especially important for those teams that are further away from the consumers, like, for instance, research and innovation teams. We, for L'Oréal Dermatological Beauty, for instance, we have connected the research and innovation team for skincare with patsumers, as we call them, that are consumers that suffer from skin pathologies. We have immersed them into their lives in a 2-day crash course to make sure that they really could feel the pains and the sufferings in their daily lives in order to come with more human-led innovations. And by empowering those cross-functional teams, you make sure that driving business growth and business success from empathy is not the sole responsibility of CMI. It becomes a collective effort. Thirdly, from the beginning, it was clear that the ambition was to install an empathy culture globally, and that we wanted to transform the business by building new habits and new habits around connects and ritualizing connects. And in order to get there, you need to make sure that empathy is embedded in long-term vision and long-term strategy of the company, and you need to have top management support. And here on the screen, you can see Alexis Perakis. He's the president of the Consumer Product Division. And in this movie, he's sharing his excitement after talking to an Indian woman with the team. So he's not only a sponsor, but he's also an active endorser of the program. Second thing that is important to really ritualize the connects is that you continuously push for the program, that you make sure that the program stays top of mind, and we do that via our Beauty Talks branded communication and activation program, and that is including newsletters, we have games and competitions, we have branded artifacts, and so on. And thirdly, we have also invested in a global network of Beauty Talks advocates that are typically highly influential profiles that are super fans of the program and that help to push for the program through their network. And then finally, at some point, you also want to capture the value of these collective efforts, and you want to ensure that you change the hearts, the minds, and the actions of your people, that you drive business growth and business success from empathy. And one way to do that is by embedding empathy into existing value streams. It's by doing, for instance, connects and empathy events whenever you're working on a strategic project, or when Mancom is visiting a country, for instance, or when onboarding somebody into a new position, into a new role. So really pushing from empathy for empathy from the beginning. So the idea is that empathy and doing connects is getting embedded into daily ways of working, and that you really help people to get better in their jobs. For instance, at Garnier, the international team, they have embedded connects and doing connects into the development process, and also whenever they are working on new launch plans for the year to come, they will talk to consumers. So really ensuring that they bring in the voice of the consumer very early on. Another example is the Prada team. They use Beauty Talks whenever they have launched a new product as a way to get some first user feedback. Another way to capture the value is by measuring it. So by assessing where are we against that empathy ambition, what is the return on investment of the program, what is the impact? And that brings me to the next part of this presentation. What have we achieved since the start of the program, which was July 21? So if we look at scale, we can say that we have onboarded and trained more than 3,000 stakeholders on the L'Oréal side that are spread across 21 geographies. We have facilitated more than 4,800 connections since the start in July 21. And in 23, that meant that we connected 7 stakeholders every day with consumers or professionals across the globe. We have a recommendation score of almost 9 out of 10, which is already very good. And also looking at the impact KPIs, where we have a score of 8 or higher, we can clearly say that we change the hearts, the minds, and the actions of people, and we have improving numbers year after year. Now, to make things a little bit more concrete on the impact, I want to share an example on how Beauty Talks has helped the global travel retail team not only to get closer to duty-free shoppers, but also to get closer as a team. Thanks to Beauty Talks and doing connects with travelers across the globe, they could keep finger on a rapidly changing traveler reality in post-pandemic, faster and more frequently. And that also has led to more team sharing, to more reflection, and to more team building, if you want. So my presentation is almost coming to an end. I still have 3 lessons here that I want to share with you based on our experience of the past 3 years. First lesson is that empathy really requires long-term thinking. I already mentioned that it should be embedded in long-term vision and strategy of the company, but you need to continue to push for the program day after day up until the moment that it is really embedded in daily ways of working. Secondly, it's important to continue to train the empathy muscles and to really install empathy fitness, if you want. So we need to make sure that we boost and accelerate repeat usage moving forward. Up until now, we have invested very much in onboarding new groups of stakeholders and fine-tuning the program to really fit the company culture. And as such, we have laid ground to accelerate empathy fitness and repeat usage in the years to come. And finally, the work is never done. External and internal dynamics will keep on challenging us in our thinking, in our approach, in our technology use. For instance, in 24, we have introduced AI summaries to the program, and we are also now exploring adding AI audience avatars to the platform, to the program, as a new way to unlock this wealth of authentic human voices to the business stakeholders in an impactful way. And that's it for me for today. I hope you think this was insightful. And I'm now handing over to Annelies with the story on A Battle of Titans. Up to you, Annelies.
Yes, hello everybody. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Annelies, and I'm going to bring today the Battle of the Titans, human versus machine. And actually, this is all about an innovation experiment we have been conducting together with Ricola. Now, I want to start by maybe explaining to all of you in the audience who Ricola is. So Ricola is actually a Swiss brand that has been crafting herbal sweets and cough drops since 1940. And I think you might know the brand from this tune. Ricola. So being an original Swiss brand, their drop contain a secret blend of 13 herbs that is grown by nearly 100 dedicated farmers across 5 stunning Swiss mountain regions. And for everybody who wants to know more about Ricola, please reach out to Elise. So she's the Director of Global Strategic Insights. As you can see, she's present in this chat, and she will do, of course, a much better job than I do to explain you all about Ricola or about what this experiment also meant for them. So now maybe going back to the experiment, let me explain you what we have done. So actually at the heart of Ricola is really that they're an entrepreneurial brand, and they're always looking for new ways to get better ideas or to execute ideas in a better way. And that is also, of course, when generative AI came up as a possibility, they wanted to know what this could mean for them. And that is where we actually set up an experiment. And the experiment was all about figuring out how AI could help us to generate relevant and differentiating ideas for 2 untapped jobs to be done. And actually, we organized a tale of 3 titans. We looked at generative AI, creative experts, and Ricola, actually the team, to come up with new ideas. So generative AI, staying maybe true to the metaphor of mountains, that was like our high-tech ski lift, where we used generative AI to come up with new ideas. We thought it would be really interesting to also contrast that with actually what humans would do. And this is where we also involved a global crowdsourcing community, it's creative experts, and asked if they could also come up with ideas for the jobs to be done. And then a third condition was really like the seasoned local guides. It's like the internal team at Ricola, which is of course super knowledgeable about their brand, they know their products, and we were curious what ideas they would come up with. Before I tell you more about each of these conditions, I just want to make sure that you all really understand what we've been doing in terms of experiments. So as I said, our goal was to come up with relevant and differentiating ideas, and we used each of those 3 methods to come up with new ideas. And as you can imagine, that led to lots of ideas. So we had to prioritize them. And a selection of each condition was actually taken forward in a classic ID screener. So something we've been running on a panel. Dynata collaborated with us there. And with these results, because we did a screener, we could actually figure out which of the titans was generating the best ID. Was it Gen AI, were it the creative experts, or was it Ricola? So let me start by explaining a bit more about generative AI. As I said, our high-tech ski lift to the mountain. And actually, before I explain more into detail, I just want to say that every experimentation has absolutely happened here in a safe and secure environment. So we had no prompts or no information leaving any of the secured systems we're using. And actually, we decided to experiment with 3 different approaches towards using AI. The first one was quite simple. It was quite literally taking the jobs to be done, put them in ChatGPT, and see basically if what IDs the AI would be coming up with. The second approach actually was much more of a custom approach we took to Ricola. And maybe you can push again, Angie, because in this case, we also asked AI to come up with new ideas using ChatGPT as a source, but we actually gave it extra context that was coming from our research community data that we have with Ricola. And this allowed AI to actually use these ideas as a springboard for ideation. We applied a model which is called RAC. I can tell you much more about it if you're interested, but think of it as a way to give an AI system much more context before it starts putting up with new ideas. And last but not least, this was also doing AI through ChatGPT, but in this case, we applied much more complicated and advanced prompts, which were really strongly embedded in innovation frameworks. So unless the normal prompt, if you go to the next slide, we applied some different frameworks. For example, one of them was the Insights Reframing Canvas. And this was all about prompts that helped AI to explore the idea and the insights, so the jobs to be done in this case, from different angles. And it's really to open up its mind before it came with new ideas. We also applied another canvas, which is the Unexpected Ideation Canvas. And in this case, we kind of warmed up AI with different techniques, again, to come up with unexpected ideas. You can compare it a bit, maybe you know this from offline workshops as well, where we do like this kind of divergence techniques. Well, it's basically using them and apply that with AI. So what did we find? Well, I think first of all, we can definitely say that AI was fast and tireless. You know, we could generate large amounts of ideas in no time. But we also noticed that sometimes generative AI can veer, of course. So at times it was coming with ideas who were really, really like generic, or that were really of scope, so not relevant at all for the brand. So that is, we had to actually take out quite some of the ideas. I think interesting as well is that we found quite some interesting differences between the 3 approaches we have been using. So at the end of the story, as I mentioned, we looked at which IDs have performed well. And if you looked at the IDs that were coming from AI, we saw some differences in the approaches in those IDs that made it to the top ranked IDs. So if you look at the first condition where we used AI just by using GPT, only about 1 of the 5 out of the 5 IDs actually came from this group. Whereas we saw if you enriched the AI systems with previous community data, or if you also applied more innovation thinking and frameworks in your prompt, you could actually increase the chance of finding a top-ranked ID generated by Gen AI drastically. And this really shows us that AI needs human data and expertise to actually do a good job. So I hope you agree that we found some really interesting ideas and findings on using AI for ideation. But we thought it would be also really interesting to kind of contrast that with humans. You know, in the age of AI, you can wonder what is the role of humans. So we said, okay, let's now use maybe creative experts, people who are really good in coming up with ideas, and see how their ideas are similar or different. And that's actually the condition where we involved ICA. So ICA is our creative crowdsourcing community, and we can use it to generate out-of-the-box ideas for different marketing challenges, such as innovation, it can be branding, communication, improving experiences, and so on. And what we typically do, and we also did this for Ricola, is we organize a creative crowdsourcing contest where also the experts were briefed on 2 jobs to be done. And we were curious to find out how their unique contribution would be to this journey, especially compared to the capabilities of Gen AI. So creative crowdsourcing brought in really different perspectives, almost as diverse as the alpine flora, which ideas blooming, I would say, in unexpected places. So for example, we had innovative ideas that integrated broader themes such as cultural diversity or sustainability. And it also really demonstrated the potential of external perspectives to think outside of the conventional boundaries. But we also saw that sometimes these global climbers lacked the intimate knowledge of our local terrain. And like AI, ICA generated often, I would say, ideas that were lacking brand and manufacturing knowledge. So that was for ICA. Let's now move to the last condition, which was all about using, our seasoned guides, the people at Ricola, for an internal ideation workshop. And actually, the goal of this workshop was twofold. On the first hand, obviously, we also wanted to seize this opportunity to brainstorm about new and compelling ideas on the jobs to be done. But also, we wanted to see how AI could help during a classic ideation workshop. So we decided actually for this workshop to do it in different parts, where we had the first part where no AI was used, and then there was a second part where we actually used the same techniques I've been talking about in the ideation workshop with Ricola. And what was really clear is that our local guides, the Ricola team, they knew every nook and cranny of the mountain because they really had the most on-brand ideas, really showing a lot of product knowledge. But at the same time, when we started without AI assistants, these tended to be quite product-centric, I think leveraging deep brand knowledge, but sticking to the well-trotted paths. I would say very safe, but not particularly always equally exciting. And something really interesting happened the moment we started to introduce also the AI tools into the workshops, because then we saw that there was more of a shift towards consumer-centric and innovative concepts. And reframing the insights with AI really helped stakeholders to kind of connect with the consumer needs and to be more immersed and aligned with the problems they were trying to solve. We also saw something, for example, fascinating happening when we used AI for unexpected ideations, because our seasoned guides were really using and discovering new paths on their familiar mountain. And we saw so a bit of a shift, not only to more consumer-centric ideas, but also more innovative concepts. So for example, we had one member who was always focused on flavor combinations, but I think by using AI, she was also coming up, for example, with Ricola mobile app ID that uses AR to show users the alpine origins of each herb as they were enjoying the product. So different IDs. And this demonstrates how AI can help actually to break the cycle of group thinking and introduce some fresh perspectives into an ideation workshop, even with a very experienced team. I think the last thing to say is that also by using AI, we really had a big leap in productivity. Now, our expedition led to some interesting learnings, but indeed you might wonder, and the slide already shows it, like who won this clash of the titans? And actually, the truth is that every condition delivered top-ranked IDs. So at the end of the experiment, we looked at the top 30 ranked IDs across all the conditions. You see them here on the screen. They're color-coded per condition. And what you can see is that actually from all 3 groups, we had really good, valuable IDs with a high consumer score. And I think what this shows is that it's really the diversity of perspectives that make an ideation like this powerful. If you would take the classic and the industry knowledge standard of just doing internal ideation workshops, you can see we would have good ideas, but we would have missed out a lot of ideas coming from Gen AI and creative experts, which also scored really well. And this is also our conclusion, that we're moving into a new innovation ecosystem where different stakeholders play to their strengths. We have clients like Ricola, which of course can ensure that ideas are aligned with their brand value and organizational context. They're the ones who know the mountain the best. We have agencies like us who provide deep consumer insights and innovation expertise. And we're a bit like the expedition planners. And I think we can help to design you the best approach for each unique climb or innovation challenge. Then we have platforms like ICA, and I think they bring this diverse global perspectives. They're like our international team of climbers showing us routes we never knew existed. And AI? Well, AI is our Swiss Army knife, a tool that enhances every aspect of the journey. It helps us to map the terrain and suggest unexpected routes and even simulates the climb before we take our first step. But none of these conditions would work well if we would not have fueled all of this by rich human data. I would say, staying true to our Swiss metaphor, we have come to the end of this session. And my question for you is really to think about what's your next mountain to climb. For clients who already have a community with us, we can explore with you how we can leverage it for empathy work, innovation, or AI experimentation. And we can, of course, also help you to explore these options if you don't have a community yet. I'm not sure if there will be time for questions. Maybe, I don't know if the other speakers will still come to the stage. In the meantime, while they're doing, maybe I can just also make sure that you know that in terms of ESOMAR, there is still more to come, because we will also have Jan and Danielle who will presenting on ESOMAR Bangkok in November, along with our clients Colgate and Samsung. So we hope to see you there as well. In the meantime, just checking if there's any questions. Maybe Delphine, while you're here, I can just maybe start by asking you, like, if people are interested in an empathy program. You know, with L'Oréal, we have a really big program. Can they also start in a small way, maybe?
Of course, Annelies, not all companies are organized like L'Oréal. And in fact, most of the empathy programs we have for our clients start very small. It can be as small as doing some connects to bring your insights from your community work or other research to life, or organizing a few empathy events a year as some kind of pilot. And then you take it from there, you create a business case, and potentially you install something more structural, but it can also be more in an ad hoc mode. So we meet you where our clients, or we meet you where you are, we meet where our clients are.
And I think with that, that's a nice maybe wrap up of this session. I hope you found it inspiring. We're here to answer any questions and to see how we can maybe have some interesting conversations further. Thank you for joining today.